Hi guys, it's your girl Lola Loves You, and I'm back with another video. One of my special honey bunnies, Whitney Source. Hey honey, I love you honey. Whitney Source wanted to know what my favorite Whitney Houston performances were and what were her worst performances. With this video, I'm going to name my top favorite best performances of Whitney Houston, of my opinion, and the top worst performances of Whitney Houston. And here they go. Well, performance number one is my favorite Whitney Houston performance of all time, y'all. It is Whitney Houston performing The Greatest Love of All during the Eras, 1990. It was like a special, it was an anniversary special, and that performance is so breathtaking. It don't even seem like a human being can perform on the level Whitney Houston performed. All the love, the passion, she put everything into that performance. It was just like, I could only imagine how her body felt after the performance. Like she probably wanted to pass out. She gave her all in that performance. It was phenomenal. Performances number two would have to be the AMA's 94 medley. Oh my gosh, Whitney, I remember I was 7 watching that performance on TV, right in front of the TV. And Whitney could do no wrong at that time in her career. And it was just so powerful. It was so, like perfect, perfection. Her performances is always, especially back then, were perfection. It was just like, is this real? I just remember her performing that medleys, and she looked so beautiful. And I think it was her new career move of her acting and being a wife and a mom, and she just had a glow about herself. So that would be performance number two. Performance number three, y'all will be surprised, and y'all know y'all gonna be surprised. Performance number three would have to be the Michael Jackson performance, the special, where Whitney looked at bad in a way due to her health situations, not taking care of herself and her addictions. But she looked bad during the performance, but Whitney was phenomenal. It shows that she was a gift from God and true talent, even though that was like one of the most darkest moments in her life. But she still came to the rise to the occasion. Her, Usher, and Maya wore that song out. Whitney came out there and tore it up. Even not looking good, she still tore that performance up. I think, in my opinion, during the whole special, of course, Michael Jackson stuff, but her performance was the best tribute performance to him during that special. Go watch it for yourself. She might, like I said, her appearance is not right, but honey, the vocals, the movements, everything is on point. So that is, I know it's a dark time in her moment in her life back then, but it was a great performance to me. She wears it out, and that's how the performance was so good. I didn't even pay attention to how she looked until afterwards, and had to, look at the pictures and things like that, because like I said, she tore that performance up. Leave it in the comments down below. Do you believe she tore that performance up? I think she tore that performance up. Performance number 4 would have to be her on Rosie O'Donnell. It was when she was supposed to do Rosie O'Donnell, but she was having troubles in her life. So she came, did a special appearance on Rosie O'Donnell's show and apologized. And she apologized to Rosie. And it was so funny. She gave Rosie a letter from her mom. And she performed There's Music in You from the Cinderella soundtrack. And it was phenomenal, y'all. That song doesn't get no type of attention that it really deserves, because Whitney was so powerful in delivering that song and hitting every note correctly, and just the range in that song. And it's a really beautiful song that it really don't get a lot of shine. I know it was never released like as a single, but it should have. It was, like I said, it was really beautiful, and like she was getting over a tough time in her life as well, but she still came there and she gave a very powerful performance of that song. Last but not least, of my favorite Whitney Houston performances, it will be "Love Will Find a Way." She performed this song, this Lionel Richie song. She performed it at the she was opening act in 1985 for Luther Vandross, and she performed this song, and she looked phenomenal in her red sequence dress, and she was full of life, and she was singing someone else's song that wasn't hers, and she was owning it. And it's a rare performance, and I really love this performance of her. And she shows her vocal abilities and the strengths. And this is Whitney Houston that has to prove a point. This is the beginning of her career, her music career, as Whitney Houston, the solo artist. And being a professional celebrity, and it's like I love the 1985 Whitney Houston because she really got to prove a point that I am the best, and y'all gonna pay attention. So I really love that performance of her. Now we're going to talk about Whitney Houston five worst performances in my opinion. Whitney Houston don't have many at all throughout her entire career. It's rare you can have a bad Whitney Houston performance. And I had to really search and think about what I thought about what were bad performances. So we're going to name them. Worst performance number one would have to be Whitney Houston at the MTV European Music Awards. She looked phenomenal. She had a red pantsuit on. She had like this wet and wavy, crinkly hair. Her forehead was shown a little more, but she looked phenomenal. But the performance to me was it could have been so really nice, but it just was so lackluster. In my opinion, she was really hoarse and she was screaming some of the notes and things like that. Like I said, this was a tough time in her life, and she was trying to get through it, and with this whole new Just Whitney project and her not being with Clive Davis, and it was a mess. It was when I think this was before her father's passing, and it just was, and her moving to Atlanta. So this was a bad time for Whitney, and like I said, she looked beautiful. I like the red, I like the whole get up, but the performance was really not up to par at all. Performance number two would have to be diva duets. This is when Whitney Houston was trying to overcome things. She still was trying to promote the Just Whitney project. She looked phenomenal. You could tell she was trying to get sober at this time of her life. This is one of her rehab stints. This is also the last time Robin saw her in person. Whitney looked phenomenal with her hair, the color gold, and her performances were so, I'm not going to say horrible, but they were not the Whitney we remembered. She was screaming, she was hoarse, and she just, to me, her vocals needed rest. She had sinus problems. I remember her having allegedly having deviated septums and things like that. And just like the day of the performances, and like the day, I think this was the day before. You could see her leaving the doctor's office with like a duck mask on. So I don't know if she had surgery or they was draining her nose or something, but she had some type of surgery allegedly, and you could see the bandages on her nose. I know I'm not mistaken because I remember in Robin Book, she said when she saw her doing the rehearsals, she had a contraption, some type of mask on her nose, some type of bandage across her nose. So I know I'm not mistaken. Worst performance number three was very rare at the 2006 Winter Olympics in Russia. I remember coming across, it was a very rare, I don't know if it's still up, a video of her performing one moment at a time, in a time, and it was not a good performance at all. Her voice was barely there. Her breathing was uncontrollable. It just was not a good. It wasn't a good look for her at all. She didn't really look good. She tried to cover it up with fur, but she had this short blonde wig on. And when she came back to the States after that performance, the paparazzi caught her, and she didn't look at her best at all. Whitney was not in a good headspace. She just was not right during that performance time. Worst performance number 4 would have to be Whitney Houston making a comeback. This was like in 2008. She had did this rare concert out of the country. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Astana. Um, Astina, I don't know. Don't quote me y'all on it, but it was a rare performance. She had this beautiful gown and this beautiful fur, and she was trying her best, but you could just tell it just wasn't there. The magic was not there. I don't know, it was too cold for her, or I don't know, her voice was still at a raw moment in her life, but it was not there. The magic was not there. It just like you could tell she was trying to come back, and you could tell she was trying to get herself sober, but it wasn't true Whitney at all. I didn't like the performance at all, but like I said, she looked beautiful. Last but not least, Whitney Houston worst performance number 5 would have to be the Nothing But Love tour, but during the end of the tour. Not when Whitney was more thicker and when she was when she gained the weight. I'm not talking about those performances. I'm talking about the performances when she lost the majority of the weight and she could tell she had in my opinion, she kind of probably started slipping and probably starts, in my opinion, smoking cigarettes a little more, and maybe old triggers or maybe new stress or old stress might have came back into her. If you look at the beginning of the Nothing But Love tour, she was in a great headspace, and then towards the end, Whitney just was starting to, in my opinion, unravel and start losing it again, but not so bad like how she did in the past, but you could tell she was at the same headspace when she started the tour when she ended it, in my opinion. So, like I always say, I really wish she would have did a one woman show, but who knows. But anyway, those are my favorite performances and the worst performances. I hope that answered your question, Whitney Source. I love everyone. I'll be back with another video. Bye.